This is dedicated to the homies that was down since day one. Welcome to Drop D.
Hey there, everybody. Doug and Rob here.
What's up, everybody? Before we get into the show, we need to take a minute here and correct a couple of mistakes from our last episode.
Well, perceived mistakes, Rob. See, here's the deal. After our last episode aired, number 35, I got a text from our dear friend Ted Rubenstein informing me of a couple of quote, unquote mistakes on my part.
So let's address them real quick.
Okay, one. In episode 35, I stated that Dallas FBI agent James Hosty had been the longtime bridge partner of a cohort and close confidant of ex-General Edwin Walker named Robert Morris. But according to Ted, this was a mistake on my part, that it was, in fact, a different cohort of Walker, Rob, who was Hosty's bridge partner for over 2 decades, a man by the name of Robert Surrey. Robert Surrey.
Well, both are named Robert, including me, but both is closely associated with Walker. You know, it's very easily mixed up. I mean, it's an honest mistake, Doug.
Oh, hang on, though. Hang on, man.
What's up?
I need to let you, Ted, and our audience in on a little something, dude. For real.
Oh, really? Shoot.
Okay. Here's the thing. I have in my possession an audio tape. This audio tape is of Dallas FBI agent James Hosty discussing the assassination with an unnamed third party. An unnamed third party.
Wait. Hang on.
No, and on this tape, which unfortunately I can't play it for any of you losers, James Hosty also says he played bridge with Robert Morris. So Ted Rubenstein, you can kiss my you know what, buddy.
Hang on. Whoa. Stop. Sidebar, VonSlap. Hey, stop recording now.
Dude, I was just, look, I got to explain this to everybody. I got to, wait, hang on. All right, VonSlap. Okay, trash this one. We'll do another, we'll do another take from the top. Okay, yeah, okay.
All right. Look, hey, are we off the air? Good. Yes.
Good. Yeah, we're off.
Look,
we're off. We're not recording.
Fuck. Now, dude, the hell are you talking about? An audio recording of Hosty? What?
Yeah. It's Hosty. But I can't play it for anybody. But it's
do
proof.
Not have
proof.
A tape of Hosty talking about fucking bridge.
Okay, I don't. But dude, it worked for the Canadian guys. Why can't it work for me? I mean, now we can claim to have secret evidence and then just fucking refuse to share it with anybody, and shazam, it becomes accepted scholarship.
No, you don't have a damn tape of Hosty, and we're not going to tell people that you do. People will see through it, see it for the bullshit that it is. Just like that crap from a couple months ago, man.
Dude, the precedent has been set. I can't help it. The Kennedy and King guy speculates in an article that L. Fletcher Prouty in 1978 would have recognized a CIA officer by the name of George Joannides by sight and true name. And then when he's pressed to back up this speculation, well, hell, we all know what happened then.
Yes. I know. When asked, he was basing his speculation on, he claimed to have a secret audio recording in which Prouty discusses Joannides and claims that the tape predates the extraordinary work of Jefferson Morley on Joannides and refused to share it with the rest of the community. They claimed all of this of just admitting that it was a little bit of speculation. Yes, I know. But dude, we don't do that shit here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but this way I don't have to admit that I was just speculating or I made a mistake. I mean, people just believe you. They fucking stop asking about shit.
Doug, no.
But look.
No. Doug, repeat after me. We are serious students of history. Say it. We are serious students of history. Say it.
We are serious students of history.
And we promptly admit our mistakes. Say it.
And we promptly admit our mistakes.
We do not make shit up.
We do not make shit up.
Because we actually respect our audience and fellow researchers. Some of them.
Because we respect our audience and fellow researchers.
Okay. Good, dude. I know it's hard as hell to admit you made a mistake or admit when you're speculating, like that other guy, even though all of us do both. But we're better than that. People hold you and I to a higher standard. And we do too. Now, you ready to try again?
Okay. No tape of Hosty. Take two. VonSlap. Here we go. Take two. I'll lead us in, Rob. Okay. You ready to go? You ready, Rob? Okay.
Yep.
3, 2. Okay. We're back, everybody. As I said, in the last episode, I stated that FBI agent James Hosty was the longtime bridge partner of an associate of General Edwin Walker by the name of Robert Morris. But, in fact, that was a mistake on my part. Hosty's longtime bridge partner was actually a different cohort of Walkers named Robert Surrey. Excuse me. Apologies, and thank you, Ted, very much for the correction. Now, number 2. Rob, there's one more. On the last episode, I said that longtime researcher Stephen Jaffe had been the person working with Harold Weisberg on the analysis of the John Martin film in the late 60s. But according to Ted, this is wrong. According to Mr. Rubenstein, it was actually Gary Schoner, who worked with Weisberg on the film, not Stephen Jaffe. But, ladies and gentlemen, here's the thing. I stumbled on a secret letter from Harold Weisberg to an unnamed third party, a letter that I simply cannot share with you guys, all right? And Weisberg says in the letter that it was Stephen Jaffe who worked with him on the Martin film. See, but you can't see it. You can't see it. I can't.
God damn it!
I can't show it to anybody. What? He's already fucking. He's already fucking cut. He's already stopped. We done? Okay. We'll do another take. Okay, we're not recording. What?
What the fuck are you doing? You do not have a letter from Weisberg that's fucking secret that you can't share. Dude, you fucked up. That's it. You made a mistake. You fucked up. Own it and move on.
But if I follow the precedent established by K&K, I don't have to.
No. Doug, what are we? Say it. What are we?
Serious students of history.
And what do we do?
Promptly admit our mistakes.
And what do we not do?
Make shit up. Make shit up. Make shit up.
I can't hear you. Louder. What do we not do?
We do not make shit up.
And why?
Because we respect our audience.
And?
We respect other researchers.
Jesus, I'm serious. We're better than that nonsense, dude. Admit the mistake and move on, okay? You ready? You good, dude?
Yes. No more secret evidence. I think I can do it.
No more making shit up. Ready when you are.
Okay. You take us in, Rob. Here we go. You ready, VonSlap? 3, 2.
Hey, everybody. Again, sorry about that. We will get to the regular show shortly, but first, Doug has one more correction to make, don't you, Doug? Don't you, Doug?
Yes, yeah. Yes, Ted corrected me. It was, in fact, Gary Schoner who worked with Weisberg on the Martin film and not Stephen Jaffe. Apologies to Mr. Jaffe, Mr. Schoner, And apologies to you guys. I will try to do better moving forward because we're serious students of history. We admit our mistakes. We don't speak of extraordinary evidence, then refuse to share it. And we don't make shit up.
Damn right we don't. Thanks, Doug. Now, on with the fucking show.
Cast with your hosts, Rob Clark and Doug Campbell.
Ladies and gentlemen, to Quick Hits, the JFK Assassination News and Notes Podcast, the JFK Assassination News and Notes Podcast. I am but 50% of your hosts on this wonderful September weekend. My name is Doug Campbell, and with me, as always, is my dear, dear friend and straight badass, Rob Clark. What's up, Rob?
What is up, Doug?
Rocking and rolling, dude. Rocking and rolling, doing the thing. The listeners will no doubt notice that the sound of the audio is probably not quite as effing badass as we normally make it, but we got a few atmospheric things going on between here and Virginia, it seems like. But we're doing our best to make it making an awesome sounding show for you guys, aren't we, Rob?
That's right. We do what we got to do. We adapt and overcome because we are badass motherfuckers like that.
Yeah, man. I would love to have a business card that said Doug Campbell, bad motherfucker.
We can make them up.
Well, we can, man. Those things are pretty cheap. You can order them right off the internet nowadays.
Yeah, fuck it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Hey, man. Dude, before we get started, I have a quick personal story I would like to share with you and our dear listeners, if I may. All right?
Oh, please do. Please do.
Now, before I do, I need to play a soundbite. This is a short soundbite. This is a soundbite, Rob, from your show, episode 200 of the Lone Gunman podcast, okay? I'm going to play this for you.
Yes.
You know, I've never owned a two-door sports coupe. Well, I'll take that back. Does a Ford Tempo count, Doug?
So, dude. Now, right after... Okay, now what? You remember the last time we recorded, right? 3 weeks ago, right after you and I recorded number 35. You were heading to the movies, I think, and I was heading straight to the gym, right? And I did that. I went straight to the gym, dude, and jumped on the treadmill. Met my wife there. And two notable things happened at the gym that day, right after we recorded episode 35. Now, the first was like about 5 minutes after I got there. I'm on the treadmill, and I'm getting going, and this dude walks by me, right? You know, skinny guy, sort of muscular arms, really close-cropped white hair, right?
Okay.
And he walks right by me, and he's putting earbuds in his ear, and I think to myself, man, that guy looks just like Henry Rollins. And then I saw the black flag tattoo on the back of his neck.
No shit.
No shit, dude. Henry fucking Rollins. In the flesh.
Holy hell.
So Henry Rollins goes by me, and I went, holy shit, that's Henry Rollins. And I kept on treadmilling, right? Now, about 20 minutes later, I'm huffing, dude. I'm puffing. I'm on the treadmill. I'm running, right? Listening to the Lone Gunman podcast. Now, keep in mind, I had just spent 2.5 hours wearing headphones with your voice in my ear, having a rapid-fire conversational fucking exchange with you. All right? And now I'm on the treadmill wearing earbuds with Rob's voice in my ears, right?
Yeah, listening to a 2.5 hour show.
Listening to a 2.5 hour show. And my brain hears this.
Does a Ford Tempo count, Doug?
And before I knew what had happened, I answered reflexively, instinctually, in the middle of the gym with Henry Rollins 5 spaces down, out fucking loud at 3/4 volume. Dude, no shit. I heard this.
Does a Ford Tempo count, Doug?
And I went, ha, fuck no.
Come on, man. It was a GLS model. It was black. It had a little spoiler on the fucking trunk. Come on, man.
Out loud in Planet Fitness at 1:30 on a Saturday fucking afternoon with Henry Rollins 5 spaces down on a goddamn elliptical machine. Rob made me yell, "Ha! Fuck no!" Out loud.
That's
Dude.
fucking epic.
Oh my! I mean, my legs still kept moving, but I was frozen. There's no fucking way I'm turning around because there's people all around me. Thank God my wife had been on the treadmill next to me, but she got up and went over to the weights, and she was not there when I did that. But and also, thankfully, Mr. Rollins had earbuds in. I did, after 10 minutes, I dared to look around and see, oh, shit. And, yeah, I don't think he noticed. He was probably himself listening to the Lone Gunman podcast, now that I think about it.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say he didn't blurt it out. No fucking way.
Or if he would have blurted
Tempo's not a fucking 2-door coupe.
What if he'd have blurted out, I had a Tempo too? Anyway.
Oh, Lord.
I thought you
I
would.
love that car.
Oh, man, I bet, dude. Mid-'80s?
1989 Ford Tempo GLS 2-door coupe
Boom.
with a baby spoiler on the trunk.
Oh, man, that was
5-speed.
What do they call that? They got a name for the spoilers. Something cosmetic performance enhancements or something like that. I don't know.
It wasn't spoiling a goddamn thing on that car. Oh,
holy shit, man! Right around that time, I had, I think, my second or third car, and it was like a '85 Toyota Corolla, and the fucking catalytic converter got stopped up on it. And that top speed, that some bitch would do 30 miles an hour, dude, downhill. It was crazy. Oh, man, those are the days. Well, listen, they're getting tired of hearing us bullshit. I think we should probably get to the serious news and notes on the JFK assassination. What do you think?
that's right, because that's what we do around here. We stick to the serious notes, right?
Yes, verifiable stuff.
Well, let's start it out, Doug, with some unverifiable stuff. Okay.
Awesome. But here's the thing. It's probably verifiable that the unverifiable thing happened, right? That's where we're coming from.
Well,
when we read witness statements
are verifiable.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do. We're going to hear from a couple witnesses regarding some individuals who were in Dealey Plaza who should not have been in Dealey Plaza that day, right after the shooting, and that would be Secret Service agents on the ground in Dealey Plaza immediately after the shooting.
Okay.
They didn't have any. They weren't supposed to be there. They were all with the president and at the airport and wherever the trademark where Kennedy was going to give his speech, right? They weren't just milling around Dealey Plaza for no reason. And none of them jumped out of the follow-up car except for Clint Hill, and he jumped into the limo.
Right.
They didn't wander, meander, or anything else up to the grassy knoll or anything like that, right? So, I want to talk a little bit about, have you heard of Gordon Arnold?
Gordon Arnold, yes, I have.
Yeah, now he's a fella, he was in the military at the time, and he alleges that he was on the grassy knoll with the film camera and that he was told to stop filming. And he alleges that a Secret Service agent told him to get on the ground and took his film camera from him. Okay? Yes,
this is the guy in Nigel Turner's The Men Who Killed Kennedy. He was interviewed, and they showed him I believe the badge man photo, and he started crying. Apparently moved to Alaska or some shit right after the assassination. Same guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
because in that photo, even in the Mormon photo, when it's enhanced, you can make out a figure there wearing his military type hat, and for years nobody believed that he was there, and he was finally vindicated, that hey, you were caught on in a picture, and
you're right. The thing about that guy is that no matter what you think of the Badgeman photo, that reaction was genuine, and that made me feel and think that this man really encountered somebody or something up there. That fear, that, oh man, this wave of like anguish came over that guy when he saw the Badgeman photo. Oh my God. And he said, I'd have never come back if I'd known this existed.
Right.
Yeah.
So the HSCA kind of investigated this story, and it wasn't just from Gordon Arnold. There was several other people attesting that they met Secret Service agents, on or around the grassy knoll. So the HSCA decided that they were going to take a look into stuff, right? So shortly before the shooting, one of the apparent imposters discouraged a soldier, Gordon Arnold, from walking behind the wooden fence atop the grassy knoll, from which the HSCA recently test fired a rifle and a pistol. This is from a news article on August of 78. The soldier and at least four other people say they met men who either showed identification as Secret Service agents or identified themselves as Secret Service agents. And all but one of the encounters were in the parking lot west of the Texas School Book Depository building, from where Lee Harvey Oswald allegedly shot the president on November the 22nd, 1963. All but one of the counterfeit agents wore business suits. One man was in sports clothes and had dirty-looking hands or dirty fingernails, according to a Dallas policeman who confronted him. None of the 28 Secret Service agents protecting President Kennedy were on foot at the scene shortly before or after the shooting, the Warren Commission reported.
Now, this would be Roger Craig, correct? The sheriff's deputy that... Oh, this is a different police officer who confronted a man with dirty fingernails.
Yeah, Joe Smith.
Oh, okay, so that's two. That's Roger Craig and this Joe Smith.
Yeah, Officer Smith, you can... He's seen in a couple photographs. He was actually standing on the other side of Elm Street before the shooting, and then after the shooting happened, everybody was rushing up the grassy knoll, and so did he. And apparently, he encountered a plainclothes Secret Service agent, and I'm not sure if he had identification on him or not, but he noticed that he had dirty hands and dirty fingernails.
Yes, sir.
So none of the Secret Service agents protecting Kennedy should have been there. None stayed at the scene of the shooting, and none entered the school book depository at or immediately after the shooting. Secret Service procedure requires that each agent stay with the person being protected and not be diverted unless it is necessary to accomplish the protective assignment.
Right.
Now, Gordon Arnold, the former Dallas soldier, said he was stopped by a man wearing a light-colored suit as he was walking behind the fence on top of the hill minutes before the assassination. Arnold, now an investigator for the Dallas Department of Consumer Affairs, was not called by the Warren Commission and has not been interviewed by the HSCA. Arnold said he was moving toward the railroad bridge over the triple underpass to take movie film for the motorcade when, quote, this guy just walked towards me and said that I shouldn't be up there. Arnold challenged the man's authority, he said, and the man showed me a badge and said he was with the Secret Service and that he didn't want anybody up there. Arnold then retreated to the front of the picket fence, high up on the grassy knoll, just to the west of the pergola on the north side of Elm Street. And as the presidential limousine came down Elm toward the underpass, Arnold stood on a mound of fresh dirt and started rolling his film. He said he, quote, felt the first shot come from behind him only inches over his left shoulder. I had just gotten out of basic training, and in my mind, live ammo was being fired. It was being fired over my head, and I hit the dirt.
Totally
Arnold was
understandable.
then 20. Yeah, Arnold was then 22 years old, and said the first two shots came from behind the fence, close enough for me to fall down on my face. He stayed there for the duration of the shooting. Okay. His prone position under the shade of a tree may have locked away his story for 15 years as the Warren Commission and later other assassination researchers scanned photographs and movie footage of Dealey Plaza for witnesses to the shooting. The first two shots that Arnold heard didn't come from the schoolbook depository. You wouldn't hear a whiz go over the top of your head like that, he said. I say a whiz, but you don't really hear a whiz of a bullet. You hear just like a shock wave. You feel it. You feel something, and then a report comes right behind it. It's just like the end of a muzzle blast. He said he heard two shots, and then there was a blend. For a single bolt action, he had to have been firing darn good, because I don't think anybody could fire that rapid a bolt action. The next thing I knew, someone was kicking my butt and telling me to get up. It was a policeman, and I told him to go jump in the river. And then this other guy, a policeman, comes up with a shotgun, and he was crying, and that thing was waving back and forth. I said, you can have everything I've got, mister. Just point that thing somewhere else. Arnold took his film from the canister and threw it to the policeman. It wasn't worth $3 and something to be shot. All I wanted them to do was take that blooming picture film and get out of here. Just let me go. That shotgun and the guy crying over there was enough to unnerve me for anything. 2 days later, Arnold was on a plane reporting for duty at Fort Wainwright in Alaska. He had not given police in Dealey Plaza his name and never told his story to authorities because, quote, I heard after that there were a lot of people making claims about pictures and stuff, and they were dying sort of peculiarly. I just said, well, the devil with it. Forget it. Besides, I couldn't claim my pictures anyway. How did I know what was mine? 2 uniformed Dallas policemen had been assigned to guard the railroad bridge. The Warren report, however, said the 2 policemen, just as fellow officers guarding overpasses along the motorcade route, were not assisted in any way by federal agents or Secret Service agents. Police officer James White told the news that he and James Foster were keeping unauthorized people off the bridge. If there was one Secret Service agent up there, we didn't know it. He wasn't on that bridge, I know that. However, a railroad signal supervisor who aided White and Foster in identifying railroad personnel on the bridge was under the impression that a plainclothes detective or an FBI agent or something like that was helping the officers guard the bridge. The supervisor, Sam Holland, Skinny Holland, told the Warren Commission that about 90 minutes before the motorcade came by Dealey, he met the 2 policemen and the agent near the bridge. In 1964, Holland, now dead, was asked by Samuel Stern of the Warren Commission if he spoke to the 3 together. He said, yeah, there were 2 city policemen and 1 in plain clothes. Holland said, I didn't talk to him, the man not in uniform. I talked to the city policeman. Stern pressed further and asked if he knew what the third man's affiliation was, and Holland said he didn't know, and Stern moved on to another subject. So about an hour before Holland or the policeman were on the bridge, Julius Hardy of Dallas was driving his electrical equipment company truck east on Commerce and was about to make a U-turn to the Stemmons entry lane when he noticed 3 men on the bridge. Now this, Doug, is about 9:30 or 10 a.m. the day of the assassination, and people hadn't started gathering there yet, right?
Right.
So he says, I looked over on the railroad bridge and I saw 3 men, and I thought I saw 2 of them carrying guns, long guns. I glanced to my left to check for traffic and then looked back because even in Texas, it's unusual to see people carrying long guns. Now, I can't tell you whether it was rifles or shotguns or what, but 2 of them had long guns. 2 of the men wore dark business suits and the third an overcoat, Hardy said. Unlike Arnold, Hardy called authorities after the assassination and in a week or 2 was visited by 2 FBI agents. He told his story but never heard from them after that. Shocker. Minutes after Arnold's encounter with the phantom federal agent behind the wooden fence, Jean Hill witnessed the assassination of President Kennedy. She was only a few feet from the limousine. She spotted a man dashing into the parking lot adjacent to the school book depository building before other spectators. Still stunned, she began to rush up the grassy knoll past Arnold. Mrs. Hill ran after the strange-acting man and was met in the parking lot by a tall, slender man in a business suit who, quote, whipped out identification, purportedly showing he was a Secret Service agent. She told the news. I thought he was trying to get away, but evidently he wanted to keep me he wanted me to keep from getting away and pursuing the fleeing man. He identified himself supposedly, and I took it that he was. I just figured they, Secret Service, were shooting back. Mrs. Hill lost sight of the man running through the parking lot about the time he reached the railroad tracks near the point where they ran across the triple underpass. Another retired Dallas policeman, Tom Tilson, recently told the news how he chased a man who slid down the west side of the railroad embankment from Dealey Plaza minutes after the limousine sped by on the way to Parkland. Tilson said the man jumped into a dark car at the foot of the embankment near the Elm Street underpass and drove west toward Industrial.
There goes Roy.
Tilson, who was not on duty at the time, drove after the car while his daughter, sitting beside him, wrote down the license number.
Dude, this is a fascinating story. And guys, if you're newer to the case, pay attention to some of this stuff Rob's telling you. It's very interesting.
Yeah, so apparently this guy, Tom Tilson, and his daughter followed this car. They got the license number. He turned it in to the Homicide Bureau, but never followed up whether or not they investigated it and determined who was, tied to the car.
Yeah.
Shocker. But, and if you want to see Tom Tilson, folks, in person tell his story is very compelling. Go on YouTube and look up, that mock trial they had, Doug, back in the 80s?
Yes. With
Bugliosi in them.
And Mark Lane.
No, Mark Lane wasn't there.
Mark Lane wasn't involved in that one. This was the televised HBO thing?
I don't know.
The one,
I don't know what if it was on HBO or not, but
yeah,
all of it's on YouTube. There's several parts. They had all the major players, and it was just search for mock trial, Oswald, JFK, Tom Tilson, and you can see him in person give his story, and it's very compelling. So back to Jean Hill, right? Now remarried, said agents from the Secret Service, FBI, and CIA interviewed her during the following year of the assassination and all told her the man she met in the parking lot with Secret Service credentials did not exist under the name she recalled he gave her. CIA agents who talked to her on several occasions came from Washington and New York and had proper identification, and they knew enough to scare me, the former Mrs. Hill told the news. She asserts another man who purported to be a Secret Service agent just showed up at my door one day shortly after the assassination. She said he threatened her to stop talking about the parking lot encounter. She said she talked about the threat during her Warren Commission testimony months later, but it was deliberately left out. Another encounter with a phantom Secret Service agent in the parking lot was made by Dallas Police Patrolman Joe Smith.
Hey, Rob, I wonder,
yes.
Can I stop you? I have a question. I wonder if she ever told anybody or ever remembered what name the Secret Service guy did give her. She said something like there was no Secret Service agent with the name that he gave her. Wonder what the name was. Did she ever say, I wonder?
I don't know if it was in her book or not. I have her book, and I read it, but it's been many, many, many years ago. And it'd be something to definitely look into, because if she remembered, I would assume she would have put it in the book.
Yeah, I'd like to. I wonder what that name is. Just something that occurred to me.
Harry Balls.
Harry Balls.
Okay, back to Joe Smith. Joe Smith, who is still with the force, some 15 years after the assassination. Immediately after the assassination, stated he started toward the school book depository building and met a woman who told him they're shooting the president from the bushes. The policeman checked the bushes next to the wooden fence atop the grassy knoll in the parking lot behind it. Smith and a deputy sheriff, Roger Craig maybe, met a man in sports clothes in the lot. Smith drew his pistol, and I thought, this is silly. I don't know who I'm looking for, and I put my pistol back. Just as I did, the guy showed me that he was a Secret Service agent. The man displayed the regular identification of the Secret Service in a wallet and folder. I remember one thing, he kind of had dirty-looking hands or dirty fingernails, it looked like. But hell, we all have to work on a car or something like that every now and then. That's what this looked like to me.
And Roger Craig corroborated that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another policeman, Sergeant D.V. Harkness, told the Warren Commission that he went to the back of the school book depository building shortly after the shooting, and there were some Secret Service agents there. I didn't get them identified. They just told me they were Secret Service. Harkness, now a Dallas County adult probation officer, told the news he assumed they were with the presidential party. I would assume they would be Secret Service men if they would be riding with the president. He said the men dressed in suits were well armed. Were all armed, sorry. And Dallas Secret Service agent in charge of 63, Forrest Sorrells, was the only agent to return to the shooting scene within the hour. Sorrells said he entered the rear door of the school book depository building without showing any identification to anyone. The Dallas Secret Service chief, however, would have searched the depository building too late to be one of the agents Harkness thought he encountered in the back of the structure. Asked about the Phantom agent, Sorrells, now retired, told the news he was, quote, not answering any questions about this thing. I gave all my testimony in Washington. I don't put out anything else. As far as I'm concerned, this is closed.
And the thing about that is if the Warren Commission didn't ask him about it, so he's definitely not going to address it, you know. And they're definitely not going to press that issue. You know, they're there to close doors. That's what they're there to do. The interesting thing about that whole, like, that play, like fake Secret Service credentials, the local Leos, right? The local law enforcement officers, the beat cops. It's kind of gutsy, but you would see how that would work. Like the one guy, Smith. Yeah, I drew my pistol, but I didn't know. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I don't know who I'm looking for. You know, in a moment like that, the president's just been murdered. Somebody flashes Secret Service. You're gonna do what the fuck he says. Like, no, go look over there. You know,
right?
You're probably gonna go, yes sir, yes sir. Again, gutsy as hell play if that's what some of the conspirators did. But you can see how it's a smart one too, maybe. In an operation like that, you know, wear police uniforms, fake Secret Service credentials. Wow.
Yeah. Even though, you know, one of the things with blending in, you know, there's the old adage, act like you belong.
There you go. Yes, sir.
Look, me and you walking into some glitzy downtown Nashville skyscraper that's mostly a financial building where everybody's in suits and dresses and shit, right? Me and you would stand out like sore thumbs if we walked in there when the street closed, right?
To say the least. Yes, sir.
But say we went and we got ourselves nice and groomed up, you know, good, nice and shaved up, slick boy, took showers. We got us some nice tailored suits and some briefcases, and we went strolling up in that motherfucker like we owned it. Nobody would even look at us sideways.
That's right. You're exactly right.
They look like they're supposed to be here.
All it would take would be a razor and a trip to Joseph A. Banks.
Right.
And we would love the way we look. Let's face it. But yeah, you're right. You gotta.
Isn't that the Men's Warehouse?
That's right, man. That's right. But you're exactly right. You put on the suit and the brown leather chukka boots, and we blend right in. These guys, they put on Dallas police uniforms and have fake Secret Service badges. They belong there. As a matter of fact, if a cop thinks he heard gunshots from the grassy knoll and he runs up there and there's a guy in a sports jacket, dirty fingers or not, that flashes a badge at him and it says, "I'm Secret Service," I would think that Joe Smith would be like, "Oh, thank God they're already up here." Whew. Right?
Yeah, they must have these guys stationed everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, Secret Service is everywhere. This is good. You know, it would probably give him a little comfort. The beat cop.
So all but one of Sorrell's 6 Dallas agents in 63 submitted reports of their whereabouts the day of the assassination, and none of them said they were on foot in Dealey Plaza. During that time, they were either at the Trade Mart, where luncheon was to be held for the president, or at Love Field with Air Force 1 and 2.
Well, they're all accounted for, right? They're all accounted for. The ones that were assigned, where they were the whole time. So, yeah.
So Elmer Moore, the agent who did not submit a report, said that he was in San Francisco and did not return to Dallas to join the investigation until a week later. About the men who showed Secret Service IDs in Dealey Plaza, Moore said, "You can be pretty sure they were not Secret Service." Now, another law officer who said he talked to a Secret Service agent in Dealey shortly after the assassination was Deputy Constable Seymour Weitzman. Seymour Weitzman told the Warren Commission he found a portion of the president's skull on Elm Street and gave it to an agent. Weitzman first ran to the parking lot behind the grassy knoll with an alleged Secret Service agent present and, quote, noticed numerous footprints that did not make sense because they were going different directions. At the same time, Railroad Supervisor Holland also found many footprints in the mud over a small area in the parking lot where a station wagon was backed up to the wooden fence. It was in the same location where, on the Elm Street side of the fence, Holland told the Warren Commission a, quote, puff of smoke came out 6 or 8 feet above the ground as he heard what he asserted was a fourth shot. Others on the bridge and in the plaza also said that they smelt and heard smoke. Not heard smoke, saw smoke. Can't hear smoke. Holland said apparently somebody had been standing there for a long period of time. I guess if you count them, there were. I heard that smoke. You want the smoke?
That's not how that works. That's not how anything works.
Oh, thank you, VonSlap. Well timed, my friend. You're about to have a second off there. I'm sorry.
Close enough. That's what we call that.
Yeah, VonSlap apologizes profusely. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So to tie all this up, there was a panel put together for the HSCA, to take a look at this shit and see if they could make out of all of it. It didn't go too well. So they basically came to the conclusion that, well, let me not put it in my own words. Let me just say this, what they say here. So Blakey, chief counsel for the committee, was without an explanation Friday when a committee member, Walter Fauntleroy of District of Columbia, asked him to comment about the Secret Service imposters. Fauntleroy was specifically referring to Gordon Arnold, who first told the news his story about a confrontation with a man who identified himself as an agent. Other people in Dealey also stated they met men who identified themselves as Secret Service agents, but all were shortly after the shooting. Arnold's meeting, however, was minutes before the shooting. Also important is that it occurred behind the wooden fence atop the grassy knoll where acoustics experts now placed the second gunman who fired at the limousine. None of the 28 Secret Service agents protecting the president in Dallas was on foot at the scene shortly before or after the shooting.
Yep, all accounted for.
Arnold's Secret Service imposter was wearing a light-colored suit, walked towards me, and said that I shouldn't be up there behind the wooden fence. Arnold challenged the man's authority, and he showed him a badge. We already went over all this.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. So no representative of the HSCA has yet to speak to Arnold, whose story was published August 27th by the News. Some assassination researchers said they doubt Arnold's story because they could not find him in photographs and movie film taken at the time of the assassination. However, his presence on the grassy knoll was confirmed Saturday by former U.S. Senator Ralph Yarborough of Texas, who was riding in the motorcade 2 cars behind the presidential limousine. He was a passenger in a car with Vice President Lyndon Johnson and Lady Bird Johnson. And he said, quote, immediately on the firing of the first shot, I saw the man you interviewed throw himself to the ground, Yarborough told the News. He was down within a second of the time the shot was fired, and I thought to myself, there's a combat veteran who knows how to act when weapons start firing. At least 4 other people, including 2 policemen, met men who identified themselves as Secret Service agents in the parking lot behind the wooden fence near the school book depository shortly after the shooting. All but one of the counterfeit agents wore business suits. The one who didn't had on sports clothes and had dirty hands and fingernails, according to Dallas Deputy Patrolman Joe Marshall Smith. And it goes on and on. Yep, Gene Hill, Sam Holland, Tilson. 2 men, then students in high school at Ferris, Texas, recently told the News they witnessed a speeding car being stopped on Interstate 45 in Ferris within an hour after the assassination. When asked by the traffic officer for identification, the driver of the dark car identified himself and at least 2 others in the car as Secret Service agents in a hurry, quote, in a hurry to get to New Orleans to investigate something in connection with the assassination, said Billy V. James, one of the students who witnessed the incident.
In a hurry to get to New Orleans.
They apparently were believed and allowed to go on because they weren't ticketed. We were interested because at first we thought we may have been witnessing the arrest of the assassins.
Oh, wow.
So that's interesting.
Very interesting. And
Yeah.
when you New Orleans, there you go. That's the pipeline for these guys.
Yep, it says, finishes up here saying the 2 students, James Witherspoon, who still lives in Ferris, Texas, and his friend Ronnie Witherspoon, or I guess his brother, lives now in London, England, cannot remember what law enforcement agency it may have been that pulled this car over that they witnessed. So, crazy stuff, Douglas.
Even using the credentials to get the hell out of town.
Yeah. And
wow,
now,
dude. A get out of jail free card.
It wasn't just the one man that Tilson saw.
Yeah.
Hop in that car. There was actually three people total in the car. So maybe the other 2 had already gotten in the car and were hiding. By the time Tilson saw this guy come down, the backside of the underpass and hop in the car and skedaddle.
Damn, man. He could very well have witnessed some of the hit team getting out of Dealey Plaza.
Exactly.
Wow.
And how they did it. Well, it's pretty simple. Just pretend to be somebody you're not.
Yeah. What could we do that would what could we do that would make the cops get the hell out of our way? That's what we got to do.
Even Lauren Hall could make a leather wallet with a fake Secret Service badge in it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the speculation and rumor and innuendo has always been, well, that I've heard from certain quarters, because people say all kinds of things, but that Hargraves had built a car bomb that was parked on the other side of the triple overpass. And that if the bullets missed, and it was a directional bomb, it was built into a vehicle. Like I say, a car bomb, and if the limo had gotten past the triple underpass, they were going to explode the bomb, detonate it. So that would maybe account for the dirty hands. He's been working on that thing, getting it ready. And you've also got that story of the cat in Florida, and I can't remember what his name was now, that actually made mention of an anti-Castro operative that lived in Miami that had fake Secret Service credentials. And his name was Roy, and it was a couple of weeks before the assassination. You know the one I'm talking about? I can't, probably wouldn't, if I went on Google, wouldn't take much to. I'll look that up, and we'll share that on the next episode. I'll find that story, but I know that's out there. So, and that it was Roy Hargraves who matched the profile and the description and everything of the guy who had the credentials as well. And, I'm thinking there's about a 99% chance that Hargraves was in Dealey Plaza.
Yeah. I mean, you start putting these puzzle pieces together, Doug, and the picture starts to form about exactly how shit went down there.
The same source of Scuttlebutt told me that, or the Scuttlebutt is, I can't remember the name of the road, but it's kind of like around the block from the Texas School Book Depository, or maybe a block away. Laurent Hall was parked as one of the getaway cars in his '58 Oldsmobile, and Hargraves left. They left in different. They didn't all leave together, kind of thing. But you can't. None of that's verifiable. That's why I don't really share much of it at all.
Right.
But it is what it is. But you hear things and people speculate, and then it turns into something else, but totally unverifiable. Like the Vidal Santiago audio tape, you can't verify that either, ever.
Yeah, well, that's it for that one, Doug. What you got, buddy?
I have a curious letter, Mr. Rob, I'd like to share with everyone. This is a letter. Well, I've got a couple things, just a few curiosities. Nothing earth-shattering. Curiosities from the archives that I'd like to share. First, we're going to go to the Malcolm Blunt document archives, Rob, scanned and uploaded for the world by our friend Mr. Bart Camp. Now, again, this is a letter to Jim Garrison, and it was written on April 29th of 1968. Now, as I read it, I'd like you and the listeners to please note the sympathetic tone and the supportive and encouraging and camaraderie-ship sort of nature of the letter. It's kind of interesting, okay? See if you can hear that. And then in the end, I'll tell you who wrote it. Okay, here we go.
Penthouse letters, and go.
Not hardly with this bunch. Not with this bunch. Mr. Jim Garrison, District Attorney of New Orleans, Criminal Courts Building, 2700 Tulane Avenue. It is addressed, Dear Mr. Garrison, I was much moved by the 2 days just spent in New Orleans. I had had no personal knowledge of you and only the most fragmentary and inaccurate information on the nature of your investigation of the conspiracy. Note, the conspiracy. I was glad to discover that there are some fundamental ways in which I agree with the importance of your pursuit of information regarding a possible conspiracy. Most basic is the conviction that our form of society, if our form of society is to survive, we must create checks and balances on the burgeoning clandestine wing of our government called the CIA. Parenthetically, or close it down. Your charges are so sweeping and major that it would be national folly not to pursue the issue to see where truth lies. There can be no harm in such pursuit, it seems to me, unless innocent people suffer markedly as a result of it. It says here, the hard in our act pursuing truth. The hand, what does that say? It's hard. Oh, the harm. Excuse me. Dyslexia kicked in, ladies and gentlemen. The harm in our not pursuing truth regarding the questions you raise could be great indeed. It's kind of faded. Please be patient, ladies and gentlemen. that's a very supportive sentiment, isn't it, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it.
All right. The writer goes on. I was impressed, as many must be, by the sheer force of your personality. It would seem, in the nature of things, that people who agree with you would gather to you, and those who disagree would simply turn away. It has occurred to me that if I can be helpful to your search, it is as a person that might raise doubts about your conclusions and data from a position basically sympathetic to your objectives. You don't have many quote-unquote middle ground people around you and are not likely to have. It is possible that this sort of check and balance on the probe itself would not be of interest to you, but my guess is that it would be. Oh, here we go. Let's see. If there are ways I can help, I shall be glad. I was struck by your passionate concern for man and by the intense grief you feel over the loss of President Kennedy. I, too, feel that loss acutely. He was a most remarkable person and extremely valuable to our country. Besides his charm and brilliance as a man, he was also a president inoculated by the experience of the Bay of Pigs. He had taken the measure of the expert advice of generals, parenthetically, and the CIA, and had found it wanting. He was a man prepared to do his own thinking in a framework of the highest regard for man, for life, and for civilization. For myself, I have given up wondering when the sharp sting of my grief over his loss will wane. I have concluded it never shall. And in that, I found you kindred. And it was signed Ruth, Mrs. Michael Payne.
What? What? That's not the name I had in mind.
That letter was written to Jim Garrison by Ruth Payne.
Holy shit.
Besides his charm and brilliance as a man, he also was a president. Now, she underlined the word inoculated. All right? Now, keep that in mind when I read this. The word inoculated is underlined. Besides his charm and brilliance as a man, he also was a president inoculated by the experience of the Bay of Pigs. He had taken the measure of the quote-unquote expert advice of generals, parenthetically, and the CIA, excuse me, and had found it wanting. Wow. Is this not a sentiment that is diametrically opposite of what one would expect from Ruth Payne?
Yeah, that's the last name that I expected you to read from the bottom of that letter. That is crazy, man. Crazy.
I thought that was fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. I wanted to share that with everybody.
Yeah, it sounds to me like she wants some Jolly Green dick. You know what I'm saying?
Rob, dang it. I was trying to make I was trying to make an intellectual point.
I think old Jim Garrison might have enthralled her with that deep monotone voice and that big bulge in his fucking trousers when she was this before or after she came to New Orleans to testify for the grand jury?
She had just spent 2 days in New Orleans at this point and got home and wrote him the letter. Yeah.
So this was immediately after she gave her testimony, met Jim Garrison. She wrote him this letter.
Now, it's been probably 4 or 5 years since I've read her grand jury transcript, but I have the impression that it was a tad bit combative when him and the other guys were questioning her. Sciambra, I think, did, and Garrison. But I kind of got the feeling that it wasn't a real cordial. You get the vibe that it was kind of not a cordial sort of atmosphere at the time. But, man, some of the stuff she says in this letter is,
that stuff might have turned her on. You know what I mean?
Well, what's interesting to me is, we talk about like disinfo agents ish kind of thing. And people who tell people they're good at telling them what they want to hear to sort of make themselves seem sympathetic to their way of thinking, like
just like in the documentary, Doug, she's been telling the same story the same way for almost 60 years. And just because it never wavered, I'm sure it didn't waver to the Warren Commission, didn't waver to him, didn't waver to the HCA, didn't waver to mock trial, didn't waver to what she told Max Good in the documentary, and to the point of getting emotional at the same exact time and word for word kind of stuff.
But dropping little lines in this letter to Garrison at this point in his investigation, when he's made it clear that he thinks it was a CIA thing, she's dropping little lines in like this one. Most basic is the conviction that if our form of society is to survive, we must create checks and balances on the burgeoning clandestine wing of our government called the CIA, and then parenthetically, or close it down.
Well, yeah. She might have realized that she's been either wittingly or unwittingly used by possibly the CIA, to kind of babysit Marina. Maybe she was feeling guilty about it.
Or perhaps
maybe sitting in that witness chair in New Orleans in front of the jury with Jim Garrison booming over her, questioning her. She's leaving wet spots in the witness chair. Got her juices flowing and
or just
spurned an awakening inside of her.
Or you feign camaraderie ship, or whatever that word is, and kind of buddy up to him, and yeah, I'm with you. That's CIA, yeah, kind of, you know what I'm saying? Tell him what he wants to hear.
That could be a possibility too.
I'm on your side, Jim. Please don't implicate me as well, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then maybe if through a letter like this with sentiments like that, even mentioning the Bay of Pigs, for Christ's sake, and the generals in the CIA, maybe an attempt to, maybe he'll share with me, kind of thing.
The name that popped into my head as you're reading it. Well, two names actually popped into my head. The first one,
yeah,
as you're reading it, Robert Kennedy popped in my head. RFK. That's who I thought it could have been, and then I was thinking, maybe not. And then I thought it might have been from Weisberg himself, since it came from the Weisberg archives. But yeah, the last name I was expecting you to read out there was Ruth Payne, dude. Holy shit!
That was not. It's not what we would expect, to say the least, right?
Definitely not.
No, absolutely not. All right, man. I got one other thing I want to pass along, Rob, real quickly to everybody. Now, you're familiar with this story, but, look, the thing is, I was talking with Ted Rubenstein the other day after he corrected me, and we were talking about, like there are things that, let's face it, you and I see the numbers. We see the numbers. And with the podcast plays and downloads, and it's going up all the time. And all of these people who are finding Quick Hits, the Dallas Action, and the Lone Gunman podcast cannot be old hands at this. Right?
Right.
It can't all be people that have done it, studied this stuff for years. There's just no way.
Half of them don't even know how to use Skype or listen to a podcast, for Christ's sake.
Well, I'm just saying our new listeners, like the numbers, they grow pretty steadily.
Yeah.
And
a lot of them are young folks,
A lot of people not familiar.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Ted, and I was telling him I was going to bring this up, and he agreed with me that, even like Gordon Arnold, okay, to a lot of seasoned researchers, the story of Gordon Arnold that you just told is old hat, right? But there's so many people getting interested in the case and tuning in. There's nothing wrong with revisiting things that might be more familiar to older researchers and veteran researchers. And so I was in the Malcolm Blunt archives, and ran across this in a witness file. I think it was anti-Castro Cubans, and this story, the story of Margaret Catherine Hoover, is familiar to many researchers, and I know it is to you, but it's very interesting, and I thought I need to pass this along to the newer listeners, because like the stories you told are in and around Dealey Plaza with the Secret Service agents, it's very intriguing. So, if I may, sir, it's not real long.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
It is. This is an FBI report dated 12/2/1963, and here we go. This is the story as told by Margaret Catherine Hoover, 105 South Walnut Street, Martinsburg, Pennsylvania. She's in Pennsylvania, guys. Advised that she is estranged from her husband, who now resides in a trailer court at 600 East Allegheny Street, Martinsburg, and that approximately 3.5 months ago, she moved from their old residence to the rear of that address, where she is presently residing in a second-floor apartment over a business establishment, which has her current address. Now, she stated that her and her husband are partners in the ownership of a trailer business located at her husband's present residence, and also in the ownership of the property just described. She advised that in the latter part of September 1963, her husband rented her former residence at the front of the property where she now resides to one Dr. Julio Fernandez, a Spanish teacher and a Cuban refugee. She stated that she had not heard Dr. Fernandez, his wife, or any of their 3 children make any statement indicating that they are pro-Castro or anti-American, but that she is not familiar with people of Cuban background and has become quite irritated by them, Rob, because they burn trash in the backyard, which is almost immediately below her apartment, and because they parked their car at the side of their home rather than along the curb. Dang it. You got to park by the curb, Rob. You can't be parking next to the house in the yard.
That's right.
It violates the renter's agreement. She stated that during the 3rd week of October 1963, she happened to be passing an area immediately below her upstairs porch and in a space approximately 20 feet from the place where the Fernandez family was burning trash a day or two before. She noticed several items in the leaves. One of these items was a trailer advertisement throwaway. On the back of this advertisement, which contained no printed material, were notations in pencil and in a fine feminine handwriting. Mrs. Hoover explained that she was immediately interested in these notations because she felt they either came from the Fernandez family or possibly were notations made by one of her husband's many girlfriends and were discarded by the Fernandez family when they were cleaning her former residence. She thought she had caught the guy fucking around, Rob. Actually, she did. She did. That's why they got divorced. She stated that she was immediately attracted to the middle name written on this advertisement, which was that of Jack Ruby, because she was thinking in the terms of a woman having this last name as her first name didn't sound right. Further inspection of the back of the paper disclosed the name of an unrecalled nightclub with its telephone number in the upper left-hand corner of the paper. The name Lee Oswald written in the top center, the name Rubenstein at the top right, and the address Dallas, Texas, toward the bottom and middle of the page. And according to her, this happened in October. She found this advertisement. It said Dallas, Texas, had the name of a club, Lee Oswald, Jack Ruby, and Rubenstein, all written as in somebody, maybe they're on the phone taking notes and they need to write something down. You know, you're looking for something to write on. There's a stack of newspaper stuff. You know, you grab an old advertisement, take a note. Right? We've all done it. But with the names Lee Oswald, Jack Ruby, Rubenstein, Dallas, Texas. The report continues. Mrs. Hoover explained that beside this advertisement in the leaves was an envelope from Seaboard Airlines containing a used ticket for a coach reservation from Miami, Florida to Washington, D.C. on September 25th, 1963. Well, there you go, Rob. Miami. That's the center of all this stuff, probably. And September 25th, isn't that about the same? That's the same day that Oswald showed up in Mexico City, right?
Yeah.
Ironically enough. Now, she made these last two items available to the FBI, the envelope for the airline and all that stuff, but stated that although she had looked through all of her paperwork, she was unable to locate the trailer advertisement, which had the names written on it, which she remembered keeping and which she did try to locate. Mrs. Hoover stated that she had not thought about any of these items from the time they were discovered until the assassination of President Kennedy and the death of the accused assassin Lee Oswald. It was hearing of Oswald's death at the hands of Jack Rubenstein she suddenly recalled finding the advertisement and the ticket, started a search for them, but was only able to locate the ticket and its envelope. She stated she felt that the information which she had found might be of great importance in unraveling the assassination of President Kennedy. Now, here's the thing, dude. She says she clearly remembered showing all of these items to her daughter, one Margaret K. Kaufman. Now, the FBI interviewed her as well, and, dude, she absolutely, to the best of her recollection, backed up her mother's story, especially her father's philandering. Check this out. Let's see, where was... Oh, yeah, Miss Kaufman stated that at about the middle of October 1963, her mother was extremely upset over the separation from her husband, which had been occasioned by a long series of affairs with other women on the part of Mr. Hoover. And in this regard had shown her some items which she had found in the leaves beneath her second-story porch, and which she first had felt related to her husband's amorous activities, but later felt were connected with the family of Dr. Fernandez. Mrs. Kaufman stated that, to the best of her recollection, the items found by her mother and exhibited to her during the third week of October 63 were a used railroad ticket from Miami to Washington, and the envelope it contained same and an advertisement for a trailer made in some unrecalled state in the South, which contained a drawn picture of the trailer and advertising information on one side. Mrs. Kaufman stated that, to the best of her recollection, the pencil handwriting had the name of a club on the upper left corner of the page, which she recalled as the Silver Bell or the Silver Slipper, and a 6-digit telephone number underneath. In the top middle of the page was the name Lee Oswald, and at the top right, the name Rubenstein. In the middle of the page was the name Jack Ruby, and at the bottom, Dallas, Texas. So she's backing her mom up 100%. Says she even remembers the names. Mrs. Kaufman stated that her mother had been rather upset recently, and she did not place any particular significance on this discovery and did not recall it again until her mother called to tell her that Oswald, accused assassin of President Kennedy, had been shot by Jack Ruby. At this time, she stated she recalled seeing the trailer advertisement which her mother had found together with the handwriting thereon, and she, too, felt it might be significant regarding the assassination. So she actually backed her up. Very interesting story. I know it's well known to some researchers, but to those newer to the case, there you go. Always something I like to keep in the back of my head, like Fernandez who, you know?
Yeah. I'm sure it was not a real name, but who could it be in Pennsylvania there, you know? Crazy.
A very, very good question, my friend. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm gonna take it back to Dallas, Doug, a little bit.
We're gonna go back to Dallas. Hey, Rob, before we go back to Dallas, you want to take a quick promotional break for the listeners so you and I can hit the old men's room?
Yeah, see a man about a horse, sure.
Yeah. In other words, Rob, let's take a promotional break. I really got to go to the men's room, buddy.
Hey, let's go.
Let's go. Guys, quick hits. We'll be right back after this.
And now it's time for your Canadian radio moment of Zen.
And then I also talked about his encounter with George Joanides with the House Select Committee on Assassinations, which Len let me hear a phone call on that, which Fletcher talked about. All right.
When you die, you should donate your head to science and see what the fuck is going on in there.
This has been your Canadian radio moment of Zen.
And welcome back to the show. Quick hits number 36. I am Doug Campbell, and my esteemed co-host Rob Clark is ready to take a trip back to Dallas, Texas. Right, Rob?
Yeah. And much like you said, Doug, you know, as a preface to your story that you just told, you know, I'm sure people have heard the Gordon Arnold thing many, many times, and you know, a lot of it is dismissed, and that's all fine and good. You know, there's no corroborating evidence, and the story alone, as a standalone story, doesn't have much weight. But when you add to it the fact that, you know, 4 or 5 or 6 other people in Dealey Plaza also experienced the same thing that this guy is saying he experienced, it adds a little more weight.
Hell yeah, unconnected people.
Right.
You know, that's independent corroboration, as far as I'm concerned, that there were some shady fucking guys with some sort of credentials telling people they were Secret Service when, in fact, they were not.
Yeah. I wasn't telling the Gordon Arnold story, you know, just for the shits and giggles. It was to bring a little context to what he was actually saying occurred to him, you know, and the fact that other people experienced the same thing. So to kind of tie that up with some other things here, a special investigator for the House Assassinations Committee was interviewed when he came to Dallas and spoke at a convention of the Texas Association of Licensed Investigators, that he interviewed a man who saw the shooting of Dallas police officer J.D. Tippit after the witness had remained silent for more than 14 years. Jack Moriarty, a retired homicide detective, Doug, who had served with the Washington, D.C. Police Department for 27 years.
Dude, now, we need to go and tell everybody that from L.J. Delsa to other folks to this retired homicide detective, you automatically have a hell of a lot of gravitas with Doug Campbell and Rob Clark.
Yes.
Right? We're automatically gonna listen to what the fuck you say and be interested in it. If you're a witness in this case in any way, man, a retired homicide detective, they got the goods, they got the knowledge, they got the gut.
Yeah, these guys are from big cities. They're not from like Xenia, Ohio or something where they investigate a murder, you know, maybe 2 times a year. These guys on a daily basis are dealing with this stuff all day, every day, and talking to people, getting gut feelings, seeing how things shake out, and knowing really how to read the room and read a situation and read people. So now Jack Moriarty, he was assigned to Dallas, and, you know, he interviewed such people as, you know, Bill Frazier, and pretty much all the Dallas witnesses. I mean, Jack Moriarty was involved in a lot of the TSBD employees, and going back and interviewing them for the HSCA. So now he's telling a story that he interviewed a guy who had been silent on the J.D. Tippit shooting for more than 14 years. Okay?
All right.
He said it was unfortunate that we had to give it up when we did. With more time, he said the committee might have identified both assassins. His remarks were made at the final session of the investigators' convention at the DuPont Plaza Hotel in Dallas. In effect, I think you, the taxpayers, got your money's worth. He said, you got a good buy. We looked and found something, probable conspiracy, but we didn't finish the job. The committee's term expired at the end of 1978, after more than $5 million was spent over 2 years to investigate the murders of Kennedy and Martin Luther King. A final committee report is expected within several weeks, stating Kennedy's assassination probably was the result of a conspiracy with two people shooting 4 times. Moriarty said one witness, Lee Bowers, described before his death more than 10 years ago now how he watched a man carrying a rifle leave a truck in the vicinity of the grassy knoll in Dealey Plaza about 90 minutes before the assassination. Bowers, a railroad employee, was in an observation tower in the parking lot bordering the grassy knoll and the Texas School Depository Building. And he goes on and tells them about Gene Hill, Tom Tilson, and said none of these 3 witnesses knew each other and in no way had anything in common. But they all described the men they saw as closely resembling Jack Ruby, the Dallas nightclub owner who 2 days later shot accused assassin Lee Harvey Oswald to death in the basement of the Dallas Police Department. These are the kind of stories that frankly drive somebody up a wall, like myself, Moriarty said. It sounds good, and it gets better, but they don't add or subtract anything from each other. The committee investigator also interviewed and believed the story of Jack Tatum, a Dallas resident who was driving his car past Tippett's when a man he identified as Oswald shot the police officer to death. Tatum, who was not known to the Warren Commission as a witness to the slaying, told a story that differed radically than the commission's chief witness, Helen Markham. Tatum also said Oswald fired several shots into Tippett's body, walked to the rear of Tippett's squad car, and came back to the front where the policeman lay motionless in the street, and he fired a final shot into the officer's head, the witness said. Unlike Ms. Markham, who saw Oswald ran off after firing all the shots at once, Tatum asserted Oswald took his time to inspect the situation and to make certain he had incapacitated Tippett.
See, man, that coup de grace shot to Tippett's head.
Yeah.
That just doesn't seem like a Lee Oswald thing to do.
No, but if this guy's identifying him as Lee Oswald, we know there was no way in hell Lee Oswald could have got there to the scene of the crime in the amount of time allotted. So it had to be somebody that looked a hell of a lot like Oswald.
Right. You and I are both on record as Oswald probably didn't shoot Tippett. The timing doesn't work. It's that simple.
Yeah, the timing just doesn't work.
Right.
So but with all these multiple witnesses, it had to be somebody that looked like him, So and now this article here is basically going over the end of the HSCA investigation, and it's an article from the Dallas Morning News. At the time, it says 16 years after the assassination of Kennedy, a vast volume of governmental material on the case remains sealed from the American public. A 50-year-old secrecy lid on testimony, reports, and other documents generated by the House Assassinations Committee has private researchers and historians fuming.
Fuming?
Yep. The only committee products made public about the assassinations of Kennedy and King were a final report and 25 supporting volumes. The committee, which disbanded at the end of 78, concluded that Kennedy was slain in Dallas in 63 as the probable result of a conspiracy. Except for Lee Harvey Oswald, who was named by the Warren Commission as the sole assassin, the committee did not identify conspirators by name. Some researchers and historians suspect committee staff members were too selective in publicly releasing information that basically bolstered their version of a conspiracy. Other information not in this category, they say, was either publicly released in a partial and inconspicuous way or not released at all. An estimated 800 boxes, Doug, of files, much of it testimony in executive session by the committee's own preference, has been restricted to public access for more than half a century. Yep. Unlike many FBI and CIA reports intimately classified by the Warren Commission 16 years ago, sealed records of congressional committees are not accessible through requests under the FOIA Act. So that probably had Weisberg pissed. A 50-year restriction is automatically placed on all records not publicly released by committees of the House of Representatives. Although more than 90% of the records of congressional committees are publicly released, the House Select Assassinations Committee chose to take testimony from witnesses in executive sessions, except for several weeks of public hearings late last year. Blakey, who is chief counsel to the committee, said he is sure the critics are uptight about the restrictions. They would have preferred to have gotten immediate access to everything, said Blakey, now back as professor at the Cornell University School of Law. And the answer is they will, if they are historians and they live long enough. Most of the stuff that was worthwhile was made public. Not all, but most of it was. We just ran out of time, out of people, and out of money. In a sense, the committee files, are all restricted, Blakey said. They are all restricted since the only way you could get in them would be by the resolution of the Rules Committee. He made a, quote, gross guess at the volume of committee files of investigations of both assassinations which were placed in the National Archives. He estimated the gray file boxes at 8 by 8 by 12 covered the surface of a floor about 20 to 30 feet deep. God damn. That's a lot of files.
That's a lot of paper.
Now, what we did is nothing special. Like he said, we haven't buried anything unusually. We haven't suppressed anything unusually. What had happened was that our committee fell within the normal rules of the House of Representatives, and nobody did anything to change it. It would have been a large precedent. No congressional committee in the history of Congress had done it. The committee just felt that it had enough problems without taking that on and probably losing it. The former chief counsel said that much of what we had access to could never be declassified. Not because it's anything inherent in what it says, but because it deals with sensitive sources and methods of intelligence gathering overseas. And the existence of that sensitive source and method, even though it was employed 20 years ago, would be a matter of international embarrassment today if it were made public. Because sometimes the sensitive sources and methods are quote, still in operation. What we made an effort to do was print as much material as we could, sanitizing it, that is, getting it in such a form that it was not classified. There's just a whole lot of restricted areas that could be pursued, said J. Gary Shaw of Cleburne, Texas, one of the most meticulous researchers of the assassination. Here we paid as taxpayers $6 million for another investigation, and they're going to restrict, a la the Warren Commission, a lot of their information. The question has to be asked, what, if anything, are they not telling us? The dean of assassination researchers, Harold Weisberg of Frederick, Maryland, said, quote, the only reason they chose to do it, which is restrict material, was so they could hide it. None of the politicians will be hurt by the terrible excesses of some committee staffers. What Blakey didn't tell you is there was nothing requiring them to take executive session testimony. Weisberg said they don't protect people by holding executive sessions and then giving out from the executive sessions whatever.
Hey, Rob.
And I don't know whether they will really care 50 years from now about this one particular congressional committee did. It will be relatively easy to use other documents. Hawk also limited the secrecy lid on a 300-page committee staff report on the details of an investigation of Oswald's trip to Mexico City. The trip by Oswald to visit the Cuban and Russian embassies in Mexico City 2 months before the assassination is a particularly important event to researchers and probably the least explained in Oswald's life. Also sealed away for 50 years is a committee interview of Will Fritz, former head of the Dallas Police Homicide Division who presided over the questioning of Oswald before he was killed. Very little of the contents of the Fritz interview by the committee was released in the report over oral volumes. Fritz told the Warren Commission he kept no notes during the interrogation of Oswald for parts of the 3 days he was available before Jack Ruby killed him. However, U.S. Postal Inspector Harry Holmes, present during the Oswald interrogation, told the committee that Fritz did take notes. And also that he had heard Oswald tell Fritz, you took notes, just read them for yourself if you want to refresh your memory.
Wow,
that sounds like
man.
something Oswald would say.
It does. It does, man. We got hot and heavy into this the whole Fritz notes conversation with Bart on the Dallas action recently, and wow, I'd never heard that before, man. Hell, you took notes, read them.
Yeah.
But you're right. That does fit with his combative, slamming the table at the Mexico City, his whole combative sort of persona that he projected there in the Dallas police headquarters.
Yeah. Yep. So I just thought that was interesting to hear from the investigator's point of view about, things that he had followed up on in Dallas and what was going on. And the fact, Doug, that, originally, if it weren't for the JFK Records Act, we still wouldn't know half the shit we know about the HSCA investigation. So
that's right.
Thank God for that. I mean, we have a lot of this stuff, but we don't have everything from the HSCA yet, and we don't have everything from even the Warren Commission yet. That's locked away until, 2037 or 2039?
Yeah, something like that.
Crazy like that.
I have heard that William Seymour's HSCA testimony is still security classified, top secret. Don't know if that's true, but it's not out there. If he did testify.
Neither is Will Fritz's.
Oh, it's still classified, really?
Yeah.
Wow. And I believe there's someone else, maybe Odio or Sylvia Duran, one of those Sylvias. One of those
Sylvia Duran.
Yeah, either one of those Cubana ladies named Sylvia. One of theirs is, I believe it might be Duran.
Oh, yeah.
You're right.
Crazy, man. Crazy. So yeah, I just thought that was cool to get a window from an investigator's point of view into what the HSCA was doing and how it was, and what kind of what they were looking at and how they were concluding things there. But I got one other thing I ran across, Doug.
All right, man. All right. Well, hey, dude, before you do that, we have a special report. We have a special report. Hang on. On Quick Hits. I love doing that. Rob. I got to tell you. It's one of my favorite bumps to use, man. We have a special report. We have a conference announcement, dude. Another one.
Oh.
This is big fucking news.
Well, lay it on me, man.
Dude, it's our friends at Dealey Plaza UK. Yes, it is time for the Dealey Plaza UK 2022 conference. I believe it is also an online event, I think. I don't know. Says here attendance is 50 pounds, Rob. Pounds. 50 pounds. Your American dollars are no good to Bart.
Do they take cock? Because I got 50 pounds of that. I can slap on the table. No. We love Dealey Plaza UK. In fact, Doug, I am a member of Dealey Plaza UK, a paying member.
Well, see, I'm not, so I can't say that, what you just said.
Yeah. Pray continue, sir.
All right. It's being held at the Old Sessions House, Canterbury University in Kent, in the UK. For full contact details and info, guys, see Dealey Plaza UK's website, dealeyplazauk.com. The location, Rob, is in the historic city of Canterbury, on the site of the ruins of St. Augustine's 8th century abbey. Dealey Plaza UK attendees gather on Friday, the 30th of September, for an evening meal, and again on Saturday, the 1st, for any European interested. Canterbury is short distance for any Europeans interested. It's only a short distance from, where'd that say, Rob, that it was from? Dover, from the Dover Sea Crossings. Some of the Bart Camp is going to, he's the first presenter this year. Our buddy Bart.
Of course he is. He should be.
Absolutely. He will be presenting on the Anatomy Papers, his new work. Paul Brown on the Pains. Let's see. Brian Edwards remote. Casey Quinlan remote. David Knight remote. Nancy Welford on Buell Wesley Frazier. Scott Reed, Russell Kent, and many others are going to present there at Dealey Plaza UK. So, guys, go to DealeyPlazaUK.com for more information on their conference this year. Also, Rob, I have it on good authority that there will be a virtual online JFK Lancer conference this year. I know this because I got an invite to present. Unfortunately, I can't. I just don't have time. But more details to come on that, Rob. But that's all. That's all we had for the. Where'd it go? I can't find it for the. And this has been Special Report on Quick Hits. Well, that worked out perfect there. Do.
Yes, Canterbury on time.
Yes.
Yes, right beside Robin Hood's grave.
Is that where that's at?
I don't know. I'm just throwing shit out there.
Okay. Well, it might as well be. Right?
Yes.
If you go, just pretend Robin Hood's grave's around there somewhere. While you listen to Bart, the soothing sounds of Bart Camp explaining to you very detailed things.
Yes. I'm surprised Bart's not doing 4 presentations for his 4 papers. That would be awesome.
Yeah, it looks like he's just going to do one for like a couple hours, and that's all. Oh, man, it would take a whole weekend, though. His papers are such an expansive work.
Right. All right, let's get into this last thing here, Doug. And I don't even know where I got this or why I saved it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I know why I saved it because it's interesting. But I just don't know what the fuck it is from. It's so just be aware this is so out of context that I have no idea where this is from or who wrote it.
All right. I can't wait.
It's sections from a report. And I don't know from who or, like I said, for what. But this section starts off, it's section E. Howard Hunt and Mexico City.
All right. I am already intrigued.
The most recent revelations concern that compulsive spy, Everett Howard Hunt. Ted Zulk, S-Z-U-L-C, however the hell you say that name. Ted
Sulk.
Salk.
Yeah.
Salk has informed us that Hunt was CIA acting station chief in Mexico City during August and September of '63. I don't know how accurate that information is, but okay. Because of a hole in the known whereabouts of Hunt, as documented by Salk, we can draw the conclusion that he was still acting station chief in October and November of '63. Again, I don't know how accurate that information is, folks. To the uninitiated, this may seem disconnected from the JFK assassination. However, to the researchers who have had access to the statements made by CIA-related agents Harry Dean, Richard Case Nagel, and to FBI reports about CIA agents Ronald Augustinovich and Mary Hope, Hunt's position in Mexico City is very significant. The sum of the evidence about the planning of the assassination in Mexico City is as follows. The assassination planning team met in Mexico City on a continuing basis from September through November of '63. These meetings were held in the apartment of Guy Gabaldon, a CIA agent. Yeah. Persons attending the meetings were Clay Shaw, David Ferry, Guy Gabaldon, Albert Osborne, Harry Dean, Richard Case Nagel, William Seymour, Ronald Augustinovich, Mary Hope, Lee Harvey Oswald, and Emilio Santana.
Whoa. Hey, now, come on.
What? Come on, Doug. Don't you love elaborate conspiracy theories? Come on, man.
Are you sure this is exactly what happened?
Again, I preface this with the fact that I have no idea what this is from or who wrote this. The team moved from Mexico City to Dallas in November. and set up shop at 2 different houses. One was a rooming house run by Tammy True. They carried off the assassination on November 22nd, 63 with Seymour, Santana, and 2 other hired gunmen firing shots. Several other participants were recruited in Dallas, including Jack Lawrence, Fred Chrisman, Frenchie, Jim Braden, Jim Hicks, Breck Wall, Jack Ruby, and Larry Crayford. Several members of the Dallas police were also recruited to assist with preparations and to help frame Oswald. So there's another gaggle of Fraggles.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Since every one of the people attending the planning meetings in Mexico City were CIA agents or CIA Front Organization employees, it seems logical to assume that Hunt either organized the meetings or at least knew they were taking place and sanctioned them. Gabaldon lived and worked in Mexico City as a full-time CIA agent. He must have reported to Hunt as acting station chief. According to both Hunt in his own Watergate testimony and in his book, and Zulk in his book, Hunt organized several assassination teams under CIA auspices in Mexico City. He was planning the assassination of Castro in 65 and the assassination of President of Panama in 71. If Hunt knew about the assassination plans for JFK in Mexico City, could Richard Helms have not known about them? Question mark. On November the 22nd, 63, E. Howard Hunt was in a meeting with Richard Helms, Lyman Kirkpatrick, and Harry Williams in Washington, D.C. They were discussing whether the CIA would put up more money for further support of anti-Castro Cubans in Florida. Hunt and Williams were still acting as go-betweens for the CIA and the Cubans. This is a very significant meeting in view of the fact that JFK had ordered all CIA support of anti-Castro groups to be stopped in the spring and summer of 63.
Mm-hmm.
He had the FBI and the Coast Guard close the training camps in Florida and Louisiana and even arrest some of the anti-Castro invaders. He was working on a détente with Castro, having sent secret emissaries to Cuba. Is it possible that Helms and Hunt knew that Kennedy would be assassinated on November the 22nd, 63, and decided to go ahead with plans for a Cuban invasion, secure in the knowledge that JFK would not be around to stop it again?
So they learned of a plot and then said, hey, you know, if we let these guys pop Kennedy, then we can do our thing.
Yeah.
Well, you know, in all seriousness, though, that's not. If you're not one of these that buys into this giant consensus view of CIA primacy, there's no question that there's a CIA component or connection to the killing. But you know, seriously though, that you think about that. Well, what if you had one rogue faction, you know, with some help of some outside guys and operators were going to go after Kennedy? Then you had this other faction who ended up covering the truth up that kind of let it happen because they figured, well, you know, you know what I'm saying? Like you're just saying, okay, let it happen. Then we can do what we want. We'll have Kennedy out of the way. Let's not get in their way, and then we'll cover it up. You know, yeah, okay. I'm starting to get a little deeper than I probably should at this point in the show.
No.
Deep thoughts.
Deep thoughts. I just thought I would pop that in there, you know, just 'cause there's a lot of names getting thrown around and shit.
Yeah, well, please continue.
Well, that's it.
Oh, was it? Oh, man.
It started going into Garrison a little bit, but yeah, it's just nothing major there. But
sorry about that, dude. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, I can kind of see that. Like they let it happen, maybe, some of them.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that, homie. There was a lot of names. I was starting to think that, okay, he's got a chapter of the Torbett document there. He just doesn't realize it.
Yeah, no.
But I immediately thought of Guy Gabaldon was tight with Lauren Hall. Yeah, and he was tight with Lauren Hall through the Birchers and knew General Walker, you know?
Yep.
His name is always on the periphery when you're on that, looking around on that side of things, Gabaldon. And he did live in Mexico City. I believe that's 100% accurate, as per Mr. Paul Trejo, who's looked into that stuff quite a bit, actually. But, Rob, I know
we did get 2 emails in, Doug, so if you want to hit them real quick, we can.
Oh, yeah, let's, I thought, all right, well, let's get it in here.
Oh, yes, wait a minute, Mr. Bozeman. Wait.
Email time. Go ahead, Mr. Rob.
Well, we got a email from our old friend Jason Seelman.
Hey, what's up, Jason? I have gotten a couple of messages from him lately. Cool. Hello, Mr. Jason.
You don't remember Jason. Jason's the guy who did a lot of the number crunching for John Martin's at the time in 1963. And the astronomical odds on the fact that, all these guys would be in one place and associated with the same thing at one time in the universe. So,
dude, it's kind of neat
to message, Doug.
It's kind of neat to have, like, if you look at our committee so far, the honor roll members here. We've got a bona fide accredited history detective, an archaeologist in Jeffrey Shanks, and a bona fide goddamn mathematician in Mr. Seelman. And Borelli's a good analyst. He's a great analyst. So, we're starting to build a team here.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He says, I heard my name, right? He says, hey, gents, long time no talk. I'm catching up on my high caliber podcast and heard Jean Martin come up on Quick Hits and then mine. So, yeah, I got some more numbers to crunch, boys. Best get at. And he also sent us another email. He says he works in film, and the show he's working on right now is about a bull riding family, but that's irrelevant. Working in the art department, I get to create things that will make it on the screen, although they may seem so obscure that no one except me would see or appreciate them. The following food items I made for the show, and in honor of the fine work you two do, I had some fun with this and snuck in some fine print that I hope you get a kick of.
Oh, I cannot wait to hear this, dude.
So he's made some labels for various food items, including Secret Sauce by Andrews Jr. It's a picante pepper sauce, handmade in the state of Louisiana. It's a sweet and spicy pepper sauce that is perfect for frying, dipping, sauteing, grilling, baking, spreading, mixing, roasting, and sipping. And it says, use the right ta-ta for the right ho-ho.
So this shit actually exists?
Yeah, it's in a TV show. So.
Jason Seelman, I fucking love it. I love it, dude. I love it. And I promise you,
Next we have Bannister's Lafayette Street barbecue sauce.
Oh, that sounds...
For every single bottle of Bannister's Lafayette Street barbecue sauce is made with the same care and attention that this wise guy gave everything he did. Whether he was taking care of things for his friends at the agency that will remain nameless or keeping watch over his errand boys, this sauce will cover everything it touches with a stickiness that stands up to any heat. It'll take more than a paper towel to clean your hands off of this guy.
Cool. I want to see these labels, Jason. That's awesome.
I'll send them. I'll forward them to you. He's got Roger Craig's original mayonnaise. Kid approved.
Hey man, we need some quick hits.
Garrison Valley Lone Ranch, the classic Lone Ranch creamy dressing and dip.
Can we get some quick hits coffee?
No, this is all characters. But
okay, okay.
And there's a lot of them here, man. But my favorite is Rubenstein's fine pickles with garlic and dill. Go on, just eat them.
Just eat them and stuff.
Jason, good work on all these. Keep them coming, man. I'm fucking dying over here when I saw that Rubenstein jar of pickles, dude.
Oh, my God.
And Doug, I'll forward these to you so you can see them as well.
Yes, please send those to me immediately, sir. I want them. Thank you for the email, Jason. Appreciate it, bro. That's awesome.
Let's see.
That was my back, Rob.
Yeah. Let's see. We got one more email here, Doug, from AC.
What up, AC?
In Mexico. It says, so I was recently doing some research involving Colonel Al Caron regarding the JFK assassination after re-listening to some previous podcasts. His daughter stated that the torching of an entire village in Mexico to make room for a CIA landing strip for drug smuggling, plus the fact that Kiki Camarena was killed, were reasons her father could not continue being involved in the part of the covert military mafia intelligence agency Nexus. The Kiki she is referring to is Enrique Camarena, a DEA agent brutally tortured and murdered in Mexico. For information on this and related events, I highly recommend the following: a documentary titled The Last Narc, a movie titled Private Network, Who Killed Manuel Buendia, and the book Eclipse of the Assassins. They don't involve the JFK assassination directly per se, but peripherally, I suspect some of the organizations and associated people could have possibly played some type of role. If we could only peel back the layers of the onion that is Mexico around the time of the assassination, I think we'd be well on our way to some real answers. There is a name that pops up in the JFK assassination research as well as in the information I referenced, and it's a name I haven't thought of in a while: Felix Rodriguez.
Oh, yeah.
Quick opinion, if y'all don't mind, regarding Mr. Rodriguez: A, his knowledge of but no direct involvement of JFK's assassination, or B, both knowledge of and participation on some level. C, no knowledge and no participation whatsoever. Appreciate the work y'all are doing. Keep kicking ass. Sincerely, AC.
Thank you, AC. My opinion is, my humble opinion is that knowledge of, absolutely, through associations, participation in, I don't know, but he was part of that Gene Wheaton, Carl Jenkins, Rip Robertson operative nexus for sure. Yeah, that would be my opinion. You, Rob?
Yeah, anybody that got bestowed upon them medal from George H.W. Bush for his service to country is highly suspect. As far as being involved in it, I don't think so, but I'm sure he definitely heard some rumblings about what actually went down, but never said anything. Or maybe he did. I don't know. I think he may have done a little bit of talking over the years, but again, just don't know how much you can believe and whether or not these guys are being 100% truthful in what they're telling us. I mean, you got to remember, once you're CIA for life. So
that's right.
There's that.
Once your agency, that's it. That's all we got for the emails. Well, thank you for the emails.
That's all we got.
All right. Well, Rob, dude, it's been a long morning fraught with technical difficulties, has it not, my friend?
Yes, it has.
So, let's wrap this one up, dude. You want to lead us off going out? There's the music.
Yep.
There it is. The music is
all right. So if you'd like your email read and commented on this show, feel free to send them to quickhitsjfk@gmail.com, and we will read them live on the air and commentate. And please do. We love your emails, folks. Keep them coming. Make sure you're checking out the Lone Gunman podcast anywhere you can hear fine podcasts. Follow me on Twitter at the Lone Gunman 7 and on Facebook, the Lone Gunman Facebook page. Doug.
Yes, thank you very much, my friend. Thank you, Rob. Dear listeners, you can also find my JFK Assassination Research and Study podcast, The Dallas Action, presented by Wall Street Window, everywhere you find quality, nonsense-free podcasts. Research and study of the people, places, things, events, and ideas related to the assassination of JFK, like this show, another fine podcast from Drop D Podcast Productions in the heart of Music Row, Music City, USA. So, for Rob Clark, this is Doug Campbell inviting you, dear listeners, to join us next time when While appearing as a guest on a recent radio show alongside a newly published author in our field, we'll hear Dim Giudinio say,
I want to talk about me, want to talk about I want to talk about number one on my me. I want to talk about me.
we are out.
Oh, peace.